Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jennifer Heinrich, and I work here at Boyer & Associates. We are so glad that you could join us for the Boyer Spring Client Events. So if you've already been on a session or two, welcome back. This session is specifically going to cover managing your CRM solutions. All right, so if this is your first time joining us, or if you want a reminder, here's a quick look at this week's agenda. If you missed a session, you can request a recording by emailing kerickson@boyerassociates.com. Also, a quick reminder that you can put any questions that you might have in the Q&A box. Do not put them in the chat, so make sure you put them in that Q&A box. We also will answer a few questions at the end of this session if we have time, or if we don't have time, we'll follow up with you after the event. You can also watch sessions you've missed, or if you would prefer just to watch them again from that same event registration page. All right, so you are all clients, so we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about Boyer, but we did want to give you a quick look at what we offer. We are a full service ERP, CRM, and Power Platform solution provider. And we do a lot of work in the nonprofit sector specifically. I also want to highlight in the bottom right corner our managed support. It is pretty exciting. We have revamped the way that we do support here at Boyer. We have tiered services and support options for every need, from basic support to proactive weekly meetings. If you want more info, please be sure to attend these sessions, or you can email Dave at dkuntz@boyer.com, boyerassociates.com, I'm sorry. All right, so we have a lot of great info to cover. So let's dive into this session with Akash.
Hello, everyone. My name is Akash Jain. Thank you, Jennifer, for such a great introduction. So today I wanted to talk through solution management with you all. So there's, first we'll cover what solution management really means, what Microsoft calls solutions, what is a publisher, how to identify what components or what things you can fit into a solution, and then understand how you can make your lives easier when you are managing solutions and going from one environment to another, where you want to be able to put in all your information and hard work that you've been developing for a long time into the hands of the users. So what are solutions? And some of you might have already known what ALM means, but it's a strategy for application lifecycle management, where you have a process, and it's sort of proven process where you're going from one step to another every single time that you need to move something from one environment to another. So the way to think about solutions is really like a big box. So imagine that you have a big box that you are putting in a lot of information inside, or maybe a lot of things to give to someone as like a care package. So you have, your goodies, your cookies, your cans of soup and all that stuff for someone. You wrap it up and you ship it up, right? So when they receive it, they open it and they got exactly what you had sent them. So that's kind of the idea behind a solution as well, where you can put everything that you have built, whether that is from scratch, so anything that is custom, or anything that is out of the box, which there are a ton of great functionality when you use Microsoft Power Platform, whether that's Power Apps or Power Automate. All those are out of the box that you can customize, and then you can package those into solutions. Typically, many clients have two environments when it comes to on the CRM side. So there's the development and production. I would recommend having a third one in between, where you have your SMEs, your experts who can test after you have developed, and then from there, once everything is stable, you push that into production. So solutions can also be brought in from different ISVs. So those are independent service vendors that have um, different solutions that you can download directly from App Source, and those also get installed in your environment as a solution. So one thing to remember with solutions is that you can move pretty much everything within them except your data. So anything that contains data, whether your contacts, accounts, or any of the information that actually you rely on, cannot be moved through solutions. And there's different tools that you can use to move that data. But besides that, everything else can be moved through a solution. And there's two kinds of solutions, managed and unmanaged. And if you had to guess, the correct answer for that would be managed is the recommended way that Microsoft wants you to work with solutions. And we'll talk a little more about what that means and what the differences are there. So the way that you work with a solution is you go onto a web browser and you go to make.powerapps.com. And then on the left-hand side, you will see your command bar where you can see new solutions. So you can click on solutions and you can select that. And then up top, you see new solution, where when you click it, you're provided with different options that you have to fill in to actually create that container or that big box to fit everything in. That's how you create a new solution. The other important thing there is the publisher, which you see as well. And publisher is something that provides information as to who built this solution for you. So when you look at a solution, you see the display name where it would tell you about who actually built it, and you have that flexibility to actually put the name and information there. By default, every solution in your development environment could be a default solution if you are creating it, right? So there is a concept of CDS default solution, and then there's also a default solution. Both of those are unmanaged solutions, and you cannot actually push those over to any environment, so they stay per environment. And if you go inside of those, you can actually customize anything that you see there. The reason why Microsoft has those is just to provide users sort of that flexibility of being able to go in and look at everything that Microsoft offers. But you can create your own solutions and say, I actually want to pick and choose certain items versus working with everything, because of course it's overwhelming when you look at it, because there's so much stuff that you can do. So some of the best practices when you are working with custom solutions. So you want to make sure that you have a name of a publisher that you've actually created and you understand what that is. So one thing that you would always want to do is when you're making any changes to your environment or your system, you always want to do that from a solution. So you enter your information, you have created a solution, and then you always just want to go inside of that solution and start making those customizations or configurations so that way everything uses the correct publisher. Because what happens is when you try to push solutions between environments, there's a concept of layering that happens between solutions, and based on the publisher that you have been using, it keeps track of what publisher is going to be on top, so that way you can see all the changes. And when you create a solution, every solution begins as an unmanaged solution, which means that you can actually make updates within that solution. And other thing with solutions is it gets complicated fairly easily if you don't sort of have a clean solution. So you want to make sure that you bring in minimum information that you need or that you have updated, versus trying to bring every single thing that that you have been working on. And we'll see how that looks in just a few minutes here. So publishers again, so when you try to create a new publisher, right, it gives you the name, which is again just a display name that you can put there, name, which is going to be the schema name. So you want it to be unique. As a best practice, you always want to have a description on your publisher. And prefix is something that you'll always see when it comes to publishers. So after you have created a publisher, you'll have a prefix, like in our case, we have CON as an example. So anytime that you create a new custom record slash, not record, but a new custom configuration, or like a field or a view or a form, they all will start with CON underscore, and then you'll see the object. So in our preview on the right-hand side, you could see depending on the prefix, you would always have that prefix underscore the name of the object. So you want to make sure that once you have created that publisher, anytime you're making changes, you're using that publisher moving forward. And then the other thing you can do with publishers is you can add contact. And again, that just provides information as to who has been working and developing changes in that particular environment. So maybe you have multiple consultants working, or different over the years you have had different people come in and out and doing different things with it. Or if it's an ISV, right, that you're installing a solution from, they would probably have a contact information there, so you can quickly see who has made changes to certain pieces of the the software, and then you can contact them and say, okay, well, something might not be working correctly, and or we need something to be enhanced. So you can quickly go in there and contact them. So building a new solution. So we looked at what a solution is, what a publisher is, but how do you create it? So when you go into the Make portal up top, after you have clicked into solutions, you can either go into new or existing. So new would provide you the ability to create a completely new unmanaged solution, or you can go into existing and you can actually look at any solution that already exists and you can bring that in. Now, if you look at all the tables that you are within a solution, so on the left hand side, you could see you're already in a solution. You have all the components that you can see there. You have the apps, you have chatbots, tables, all that fun stuff. If you click on add existing, it would actually open up all the existing tables in your system. And that means it would be anything either out of the box or anything custom that you have built. Let's say in this case, we decided to select on existing tables. You clicked on it, it would ask you, hey, what type of table do you want to bring in? And in this case, we want to bring an account. And you can see in the right-hand column, manage externally, and that has a lock on it. So what that tells you right away, that this account table is actually managed versus unmanaged. If something was custom that you had built, it would actually have a lock, but it would be unlocked. So that's how you bring a new table into your solution. And then once you have selected that tables, it allows you to add different components into that solution for that particular table. So as I was saying, there's sort of easy way to bring everything into that solution for that table. And that's where you want to be careful with it, because here you could see there's a option for include all objects versus include table metadata. So include all objects mean that, hey, I want to bring every single thing that the account table contains. So I want to bring all the columns, all the views, all the forms, all the rules that might be, everything that that particular table contains. Or you can select objects and you can individually select what you want to bring into that particular solution. So say if the only thing I've done is use account form, maybe I created a new account form and I have added a couple new columns, those are the three things that I should be bringing in my solution, and not necessarily everything that's out of the box. Because again, when you try to push the solution, that other solution, so say you only had dev and production, when you try to push it into production, those managed components that you saw in your dev environment will already be in your production as well. So that's where it's a give and take, and you want to be careful with it. And then the last option we see here is include table metadata. So what that means is it's not necessarily bringing any objects, but it's really looking at all the properties that come within a table or forms and views. It's basically all the properties that you can bring in. So if you check that, it would automatically bring that. And that is truly a best practice, that when you are adding any new thing into your solution, you want to check the metadata, because then your other environment that you push that into would have the same exact features or components that you're looking at. Okay, so then now we are inside a solution. We have over the year added 648 different components. We have 2 apps, right? We have been busy, basically, to say the least. So looking at this menu of how to navigate here, on the left-hand side is the back button to go get out of the solution. So you can see list of all the solutions you have. Underneath, it would tell you the name of the solution. So this one is a field service solution. And then underneath, you have a history of sort of what has been going on with the solution. And then in the next to sort of that navigation panel is the objects panel. And that's where you can see everything that you can bring into your solution. As an example, you got, your apps, your option sets, or the choices you have, cloud flows, your connection references, forms, tables, plugins, web resources, etc. And then in the middle of the screen is where it shows you every single thing as to what you have in there. So you can select and choose what you have been working on, if you wanted to remove something and whatnot. And then one cool feature on the right-hand side is the search. So, again, you have 648 different objects in your solution. So you don't want to scroll through one at a time. If you know the name of it, you can hit search, and it would actually bring you to that particular object that you're looking for. So we had talked about in the beginning the different sort of what, the types of solutions that we have. So we said there's an unmanaged solution and a managed solution. So first, let's talk about what is an unmanaged solution. As I had said, every solution starts as an unmanaged solution. Typically, you will be using that in your development environment to basically be making changes. That way you can be ready and test to make sure everything's working. As you are developing new things, you should be in the habit of source controlling it. That way, if you are working on some code, you have that stored in either GitHub or some other repo where it's actually saved and stored on the cloud versus just on inside the solution. And then you can export any unmanaged solution, and you can select if you want that solution to be exported as unmanaged or managed. So you get that option, and we'll see that in a second, how that looks like. You can also delete unmanaged solutions. Now, when you do delete an unmanaged solution, you have, say, 648 components in that unmanaged solution, and you decided to delete it. Don't worry, any of your components or the objects inside that unmanaged solution will not be deleted. What it's truly doing when it's deleting an unmanaged solution is strictly just basically clearing that package or that solution, but all the other components are just going to be in your default solution that we talked about in the beginning. So if you went to default solution, you'll still see all your out of the box components and anything custom that you have. Unmanaged solution also allows you, changes in the target environment. But the main difference between unmanaged and managed solution is that you can't really roll back any of your changes if you're working with unmanaged solutions. So that's why it's truly important to be using managed solutions, because one of the key things that managed solution helps you with is to be able to roll back. So, again, you have a new solution, you can bring in different tables to it, and everything that you're working on with that solution would be unmanaged. Now let's talk about the managed solution. So when you're deploying into non-development environments, you want to have that solution as a managed solution, right? And as I said, with managed solutions, you have ability to source control, you can roll back changes. It also provides you ability to have more controlled way of using the system. So that prevents users from going into or system admins to go into the solution and make any changes. So when you try to go into a managed solution and try to update that, it would tell you, hey, it's a managed solution, you shouldn't be making any changes. You cannot export a managed solution. You can only import a solution as a managed solution if you have exported that from an unmanaged solution to a managed solution. Another important thing about managed solutions is if you delete that solution, all the components that are within that solution will also be removed from your environment. So it's truly important that if you are, and when you are using managed solutions, you are making sure that you're not deleting that solution, because it's not the same as unmanaged solution as we talked about. Okay, so again, what are these objects that I keep talking about, right? Objects are components. So as I mentioned before, right? Settings, tables, automations, security, processes, plugins, sitemaps, all these things, as you see on the screen, are sort of the objects that you can bring in to your solution, and then you can move those over from one environment, typically your development, into your production environment. Again, important thing, you cannot move your data, as we talked about. Solutions, so one other thing to remember with solutions is the fact that the more objects you're adding to your solution, the more time it's going to take, right, to push it over to different environment. So again, the same idea or same concept as we were saying earlier, that you have a package, a care package that you've added many things to it, the heavier it gets, the harder it is to pick up. Same thing with solutions. The more you're adding into it, the longer it's going to take to actually install into your environments. And when I say long, I'm not saying hours or anything like that. Typically, even a big solution would potentially take 10 to 15 minutes to push all the changes over, but it would take more time than having only two components or objects in your solution. So just knowing that is helpful. Now let's talk about the solution lifecycle, right? So that's where the ALM management comes in, and knowing how you can quickly make changes to the solution. So again, you are creating a solution as an unmanaged solution. You can then update that solution, and updating means that you are really doing a version control on it. So when you create a new solution, it typically has a version number of 1.0.0.0. Of course, you have the ability to update that. Many people like to put in the dates that they have modified. Some people like to just say, I'll leave it as default. That's totally up to you. But I would say that if you stick with one pattern, stick with it throughout, because again, you should be doing, having source control, and then it's easier to see what you have built, for the past year, 2 years, as compared to changing the versioning every day. You can do an upgrade, which basically means that anytime you're pushing a solution and you're doing an upgrade, you are replacing anything older from your system, and you want the latest and greatest. There is a concept of patch, which typically you would want to use if you are live in your production environment and something breaks, right? So one thing you always want to do is have a patch ready. That way it just quickly pushes your changes. So maybe something was broken. You have been continuously doing development, so you don't want to push everything that you have, but you want to just fix something really quick. So there's a concept in solutions that you can create a patch from an existing solution, and you can only add the component that you changed, push that over to production. Once you're done with your cycle, okay, after maybe another couple of weeks, you have everything ready. You can then push the entire solution again to your production. Some things to remember with solutions are dependencies. So many times you might be pushing your solution and you might see an issue. It might be that you have dependencies, meaning that one particular record, one particular column or object is actually dependent on something else, and maybe you didn't have that other thing in your solution. So you want to make sure that you have all your objects that you want within one solution, so that way you can package them without any dependencies. Conflict resolution, again, the way that solutions truly show up and what it looks like is, if you have managed solutions and you're pushing managed solutions, everything is going to be that managed solution would be the top layer. But if someone for some reason makes an unmanaged layer onto the solution, that unmanaged layer sort of stays on top. So that's why you truly don't want to make any direct changes into production. You always want to push those through managed solutions from your development environment to your production environment. This is where I was talking about versioning. So when you're trying to export a solution, it would tell you the current version you're on. So in this case, it's 1.0.0.1, but it's saying that, okay, I want to export my new version of 0.2. And then it says, I can export that solution as managed or unmanaged. Once you export that solution actually downloads as a zip file. So then when you go into your next environment and you do import, you can actually just import that zip file. And when you hit next, it would ask you for an option whether you want to do an upgrade or you want to update. And I typically like to do upgrade because I want the latest and greatest changes into my production environment. And I realize we only have 1 minute, so if there are any questions, I will be able to answer those.
All right. Thank you so much, Akash. That was awesome. So just as a reminder, if you do have any questions, be sure to enter them into the Q&A section, not the chat section. So we'll give you a few seconds here to see if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, if you come up with them later too, don't hesitate to reach out. We can certainly answer those. But I hope that this was super informative for everybody. Akash, you did a great job. And yeah, absolutely. And we are going to go ahead and wrap up this session for today. Hopefully you found this informative and helpful. And if you plan on attending any other sessions during the client event, we look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.